101 review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. He's a fellow podcaster too, and the title of the podcast, they call me Mr. Yu, no other than, of course, Mr. Yu. Welcome to Book 101, Mr. Mista. And can you please introduce more about yourself?
Absolutely. I'm Mr. Yu, everybody. I'm a fellow podcaster, like Daniel mentioned. I wear a lot of hats. I've done a lot of things in life, and I'm honored to be able to have a podcast to talk about those. One of those is our interview show, 101 with Mr. Yu, where we talk about compelling stories and tragedy and victory in the lives of people all across the country and even across the world, too. Some people were actually global guests. So excited about what we're doing. It's been almost 5 years now, and we're just having fun telling our stories and encouraging folks to share theirs. So it's been a fun ride.
Having fun indeed, Mr. Mista. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge to the world. Thank you so much for being you. So, can you tell us about benefits and challenges of podcasting, building an audience in saturated market, and the power of storytelling?
Absolutely. I'll do my best to try to touch all three of those. I'm not an expert, by the way. I started in 2020, probably one of the worst years in our country's history. Businesses were closing down, people were losing their livelihoods, and I was on the fringe of not knowing what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. And I left the corporate world, gambled on myself, I guess, to start a podcast where I can hopefully make a difference in people's lives in some small way. It turned into a thing that out of my control now. It's been almost 5 years. I think a benefit of podcasting, if you're thinking about starting one, you just remember that you do have a voice. It doesn't matter how people see you, but it's really about how you see yourself. And you have an opportunity to share that special something that's inside of you with everybody else in the world. So if you think about starting a podcast, just remember that you have a voice and it's unique. You don't have to pretend to be anybody else or look like anybody else. Just be who you authentically are, and it makes a difference in somebody's life. Somebody's going to hear it. If there's only one person, they're going to hear it. They're going to be encouraged by what you talk about, and just keep doing you. I think the challenges they're plenty. It's a technical world, so you can be live and things can go wrong with the music, with the sound, with the graphics. Just technology. It's not really something you can control. You can do your best to, but you can't really control it. Also, a lot of challenges are that we are in an oversaturated market. Everybody's trying to be a podcaster. Everybody wants to be an author and a writer and stuff too. But podcasting is something that everybody thinks, you know what, I have a story to tell or I have something cool to talk about. I'm gonna do a podcast. So it kind of almost takes away the substance that's in the market of good things, good podcasts. But we have to persevere and rise above that and keep doing what we do, and everything that's not authentic will always fall off of the map. But it is an oversaturated market. Everybody trying to be a podcaster these days, but building the audience is hard. But you got to be authentic. Just be who you are. Talk about the things that are important to you, that are relevant to you think are relevant to your listeners, and just keep doing that. Be consistent. Don't take too many long breaks if you can help it. Be consistent with the time you say you're going to be on air. Show up, be on time, be consistent, and your people who are listening will expect that. They'll come to respect that you are faithful to the process, and they'll be faithful to you as listeners. So that's just some of the things that we can talk about when it comes to podcasting, Daniel.
Mr. Mista, beautifully articulated. Very well said. Very well said. What are the some of the personal or professional benefits you are experiencing starting your podcast?
Well, I think one of the things that it's still developing, but I think one of the things that I'm noticing that seems to be a really strong benefit is the networking, the community. Like I said, there are a lot of podcasters out here, and some of them do a lot of things that you and I probably be like, that's not really for me. But it's just a vast opportunity and availability of topics and ideas and causes and people who are dealing with some of the same things you deal with, and the community is so valuable. So that's one of the biggest things I love about podcasting. There's a community attached to it. There's some communities that's not great, but the one that we found that you and I are aware of, it's a fantastic community. They're very nurturing and supportive. I'm sorry, excuse me. And they do all that they can to help support one another, like we're doing today. And I think that's something that if we didn't have that, I don't know if I can keep on doing podcasting. This community is that valuable that I think I need to have that in my life in order to do this for any kind of long term goal. So this is just fantastic. Meeting awesome folks like you and being on your show. It's just really a blessing, man. So community is huge. Networking is huge.
Fantastic indeed, people. What unexpected opportunities have come from hosting your podcast?
Unexpected opportunities. Uh, I think I can find that mostly in our one-on-one with Mr. Yu show, where we do a live interview with people across the world. That's probably the biggest unexpected blessing, if you will. I got to meet people who have answers to the needs that I've had for years. And I'm like, okay, so I met them and I heard their story. Oh, wow, I've been dealing with that for a long time. And connecting with them helped me get resources that I needed to help solve problems that I had. And that's a big unexpected benefit. The other thing is I've met people who have become friends. They've been a guest on my show and they become friends of mine. Now we connect with each other and we support each other. And it's like, wow, I never would have met you had it not been for podcasting. So those are two big benefits for me.
Big benefits indeed. How has podcasting helped you grow your voice or brand over time?
I think finding your voice is a big deal. And honestly, I urge everybody who's thinking about podcasting, or if you're already in it and you're dealing with imposter syndrome and things of that nature, there's no silver bullet on how to do this thing, how to find your voice. Honestly, it just takes time. It takes time to figure out what you want to say. It takes time to figure out who you want to be in all this, who you want to represent yourself as. And sometimes we have to make ourselves over and kind of get rid of the stuff that was a deficiency in our life and say, you know what, this is who I want to become, and build and develop yourself and lead yourself well. So to me, I think one of the biggest things is finding your voice, being patient, taking the time, be okay with taking the time to find out who you want to be in this space. My podcast, when we first started in 2020, there were a lot of changes that was a lot different than what it is right now. I was trying to find myself, and had to learn how to be okay with that. I was talking about things that I cared about, but my self-esteem and how I view myself, what I thought about the audience, and if they were going to like me or not. I had to deal with all those challenges and recognize that, you know what, at the end of the day, this is Mr. Yu, and I have to be honest about who I am and talk about the things that really matter to me, and the passion in that, because I was being true to myself. The passion in that came out and it resonated with people. And now we have a listenership that values that kind of honesty, that kind of authenticity. So to me, just taking the time to find your voice, be patient with the process, but take the time to find your voice, and the rest is going to come.
Be patient, people. Patient is virtue, as they said.
Patience is the
Let's
virtue.
talk about on the challenges of podcasting. What are the biggest challenges you face as a podcast host?
Uh, I think one of the biggest challenges is just I don't have a problem with the consistency part. I'm a planner, so I make sure stuff's in my calendar. I take care of being on time, making sure I'm where I'm supposed to be, and I'm producing shows when I say I'm going to do that. I think one of the biggest challenges is just learning how to listen and talk to people who may be talking about some things that maybe perhaps don't resonate for me personally, but I know resonates for our viewers. So I have to learn how to be present in the moment, not get distracted, stay on point, because when I'm talking to somebody who is like a guest on our show, I'm a representative of my listenership. They can ask questions and get into the live chat and make comments, but at the end of the day, it's myself representing our listeners. So I have to ask the right questions. I have to speak almost on their behalf. to make sure that we get everything we can get out of the interview for the sake of those that are listening and watching. So that's a big challenge for me to stay on point, to be not be distracted, not think about myself personally as a listener, but think about my listeners and our viewers, and make sure we get the very best out of every interview and every interaction on our show. So that's the biggest challenge for me.
Do your best, people, every episode that you are doing in a podcast. How do you stay consistent and motivated when episodes don't get reach your hope for?
It's a great question, Daniel. I love it. Uh, I had to deal with that recently. Staying motivated, I guess, is not super hard. I mean, but if you look at analytics and those kind of things, they can be really discouraging sometimes. You're like, okay, wow, the numbers
True.
don't look the way I thought they would. But
True.
honestly, I try not to spend too much time doing that. It's a place that I visit, but I don't want to live there. Put it like that. So
Mm,
for me, I recognize that here's the goal. This is the system that I set up. I do this amount of episodes a week, and all I can do is make sure that they're the best that they can be. I just stay true to the goal. I'm not moving around. I have people around me that in our community that do things differently. I avoid the temptation of trying to do what they do. It's one thing that I would highly recommend. It may look like it's working for them. Don't try to mimic it and make it your system because it works for them for a reason. This is germane to them. You got to find your own system, what works for you, and then you got to be willing to be patient. Again, patience is the virtue. Be patient with the process and allow it to grow and develop. Right now, if I look at where I was in 2020 compared to where I am in 2025, stark difference, dramatic. But I stayed consistent and I waited. I worked hard, and I'm still inching toward the goal that I have to be able to do this kind of stuff full time. But I have to work toward that goal. It's not going to come overnight. Overnight successes, we don't know what they've gone through to get to be called overnight success. So there's a process we got to go through. We got to walk through it. So for me, that's the biggest thing. Just being consistent and knowing that there's a plan. And our old mentor in business told me this a while ago, many years ago, as a matter of fact, that you start a goal with the end in mind.
yes.
And for me, I'm starting this goal knowing what the end's going to look like, how I want it to look, how I want it to play out. So all the things that happen in between, the analytics, the numbers that don't go where I want them to go, the likes that we don't see, the views and impressions that we don't see, it's okay because I know what the end's going to look like. So I got to keep running toward that goal, if that makes sense. Great question, though.
Makes sense, Mr. Mister. How do you balance podcasting with the other responsibilities, your life or work?
Very, very interesting question, and thanks for asking that. I have a very busy life. We just started a nonprofit. We just started a nonprofit organization. I do a lot of stuff. My wife and I, heavily involved in ministry. Uh, we got children and grandchildren that we have to deal with, plus a host of other things. All I can do is lean on my calendar. That's my it's my easy answer. If it's not in my calendar, I'm not doing it. It's just that simple. So if it's in
Yes,
my calendar,
simple.
if it's in my calendar, I adhere to it strictly because I recognize that time is something that a commodity we can't get back. When we lose it, it's gone. So what I try to do is make sure I maximize the time that I have. So whether I'm a host, whether I'm a guest, there's certain days of the week that I do that. I do not let that blend into the rest of my days of the week. Those are devoted to family, to my wife, to ministry, whatever else is going on in that week. So for me, strict adherence to the calendar, being organized, and planning. Keys for anybody who wants to do podcasting because I know people who, these are friends of mine that might be watching this right now. They can be at the drop of a dime, they'll jump in and go record a show and they think that it's okay, but it's like it creates a bad habit because now you're almost beholden to podcasting in that schedule as opposed to the rest of stuff in your life. You got to plan around what's important in your life, not let it be the other way around. So for me, strict adherence to the calendar, making sure that I don't overextend myself, I don't double book myself or my family, and make sure I just make sure that the main thing is the main thing.
Indeed, Mr. Mista, again, very well said.
Thank you, sir.
Beautifully articulated. How do you handle technical issues or guesting scheduling conflicts?
Good question, man. I like it. Uh, I'll do the last one first. When I have scheduling conflicts and stuff, usually it's it's not really my fault the majority of the time, but it is a issue with calendar. Well, I had a calendar issue that it wasn't working right. It was double booking my guests. Excuse me. I can resolve that easy. I'll just talk to the guests and see if we can try to reschedule, accommodate their schedule, kind of make it work out. I've done that once or twice. Never really a big thing. As far as the technical issues, those are funny. And again, like we talked about earlier, they're really hard to control. I had an interview with a dynamic young man and a leader of an industry, and he has millions of followers. And while we were on a live interview, all of the systems went out, and we couldn't
Yes.
hear each other. The audio went out. I'm like, what happened? No changes on my side. He said none on his side. We had to start all over again and reboot and reset the episode. So it's podcasting, especially when you're live. It's the world we live in. So you gotta kind of just deal with that, and
Yes.
your people will understand. Your listeners are gonna understand. Don't get bent out of shape. Don't get stressed out. Technology is not something that we can master and control. It has a mind of its own sometimes. So
Yes, totally agree with you, Mr. Mista. So let's talk about building an audience in a saturated market. With so
mm.
many podcasts out there, how do you stand out and attract listeners?
Well, one of the things that I try to do, because I recognize that to some degree how the algorithm works. So what I try to do is just be communicative, but not so much in terms of the spam. I'm so sorry, excuse me. I'm under the weather today. But I try to just not. I try to communicate and not over communicate too much, where I'm spamming my potential listeners. I let them know what we're doing, what we're trying to accomplish, how we want them to be involved, and how they can help us accomplish the goals. I'm definitely doing that a lot between episodes. Promotion. They know when episode's going to be coming on, who's going to be in it, what we're going to be talking about. They're already aware of it in advance. It's not a surprise. They know what day it's going to be on. And for me, I feel like a lot of people who are doing podcasting, and I don't know what the number is. I don't have a stats in front of me, but a lot of folks are not even that organized. They kind of do it on the spur of the moment and hope that you catch it. For me, I want them to know what we're doing, where we can be found, where you can find our resource, like our YouTube channel. I want them to know where we are, where they can find our information, how they can listen to us. If they can't watch us, how can they hear us? So I talk about that stuff with them all the time. I want them to know that even though we're in a market that's definitely oversaturated with podcasters and media and content creators, I want them to know that, you know what? We take this seriously, and we're here. And we're doing this for a reason. What's the reason? They always know what that is, what the purpose is of our show, what we're trying to accomplish. And we just believe that it's going to matter because we're consistent, and because it matters to me, it's going to matter to them as well.
Yes, indeed. So let's talk about the power of telling your story. Why do you
Ooh,
believe storytelling is so powerful in podcasting?
wow. Well, the only reason why I can say this with a certainty that it's powerful is because I started the first 3 seasons of this podcast telling my story. Now, like I said before earlier, as a self-professed introvert, not comfortable with that. Telling my
Yes.
story and being open and transparent. Excuse me. Be open and transparent with the world. Making people are globally watching,
With
listening
the
to this
world.
podcast. Yeah.
Yes.
So what I found was that the personal stories, and this is what built our listenership and our viewership, the personal stories actually resonated more than the things that I wanted to talk about. Because I had a list and plan of things I want to talk about on the podcast. Like, people want to hear about this, they want to hear about this, and they didn't want to hear about any of that stuff. They wanted to hear about the personal stories that related to real life situations that they are in themselves. And that's how we built this. We built it on the stories. So from a personal standpoint, I can't speak for anybody else's show or their podcast work, but for us, the stories were what make this podcast special. The stories made this something that resonated with so many people we hear about from South Africa, Australia, throughout the continent of the United States of North America. We've heard it so many places. The stories are what resonates. So the power of storytelling is a real thing, and a podcast is a fantastic place to do that, whether it be audio, video, or both. So we're excited about telling some more stories and sharing you guys stories with our listeners.
Mr. As a podcaster, what will be your short-term and long-term goals?
Short term and long term goals. I think short term, I want to build a system where I'm able to kind of not, I don't want to automate what we do so much, but I want to make sure that we're efficient in how I craft episodes, how we develop them, and how they're released and produced, and make it to a point where we know these days are locked in to accomplish this goal, and it's not something that's kind of all over the map, because that can be a real danger for podcasts to be kind of get muddled up with confusion and not being organized. So that's one thing I've seen with many podcasters. I don't want that for us. So short term wise, that's where I want to be at. Long term, I would hope that this podcasting opportunity would turn into a full time situation where, and I don't mean as far as hours, but I just mean as far as the monetization options, and just being able to be able to do this with enough of a reach and influence that it matters, whether it be sponsorships, affiliations, and what have you, and be able to do this on a regular basis where it begins to provide and meet some needs that our family has, and still be able to continue to tell the stories that have been life changing for so many people. So long term, love to see this kind of go to a broader level where we reach more people and have more sponsorships and make this into a full-time monetized venture.
Yes, indeed. Monetize our podcast, people. And good luck to your goals, Mr. Mista. And what will be your advice for those people out there who want to start their own podcast?
Yeah, great question. I've helped out a few folks who've had that kind of question, and we have a link on our on our site. If you want to look into that to see how to do that. But honestly, if you want to start a podcast, before you even get started, before you buy any equipment, before you start downloading apps, ask yourself, and wait around for the answer. Ask yourself, why do you want to do this? If the answer that you come up with is about you, or getting some stuff off your chest, or making you feel better, podcasting is not for you. Keep those stories and those opinions to yourself. But if this is about something that you think is going to change the world in a positive way and make people's lives better, you know what I'm saying, and you live in that by example, then podcasting perhaps is definitely a way to broaden your horizons and to have your voice extend out and have reach and influence beyond your personal circle and beyond your community and out into this vast world that we live in. So that's the biggest thing I would say first before you start buying equipment and buying all kind of expensive microphones and computers and webcams. Ask yourself why you're doing this. The why is what's going to drive this when things get low, when your numbers don't look great, when people stop listening, when your competitors are just running you over. The why is going to keep you in the box. It's going to keep you, on that microphone. It's going to keep you recording and keep you producing when things get low in life. So the why has to be the number one question you ask yourself, and you have to take the time to get the answer.
Yes, indeed. If you have the passion and podcasting, why not share your talents to the world? Stop procrastinating and share your voices to the world. So, Mr. Mista, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast too, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, book 101 review and fifth season as well, comedy 101 in second season, food 101 in fifth season as well, geography 101 and love letters are in third season, and my baby podcast, Mental Health 101, Movie 101 review, and Music 101 in its fourth season, and Sex 101 and Science 101 in its first season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. Mr. Mister, have you ever had a listener tell you how an episode impacted their life?
Absolutely, I hear that pretty often now, which is really an encouragement that I didn't expect. So, really moving to hear from somebody who said, I watched the show and I listened to the show, and I saw some things in my life that you know I didn't realize was there. That was a problem. That was limiting my ability to be successful in life. And it was a young lady who was in the Pacific Northwest. I remember her pretty well. She's avid listener to our shows and our product. And she was saying that she dealt with issues with self esteem and having dark thoughts and stuff. And she heard the show, and from what I understand from her, it was life changing for her. She said, "You know what? I got to make some adjustments. I got to make some. I can't stay in this place where I'm at. But if I didn't hear the show, I wouldn't even realize that was there and that was going on." So I'm like, I was blown away because I didn't expect that when I crafted the show and crafted the episode. But that's amazing when somebody says, "You know what? I heard this. I heard what you were talking about and what you were sharing, and it touched me so much that what? I feel like I'm better than what my situation says I am, and I want to make changes to get there." So I can't go into
Totally
more detail on that, but it
empowering.
was awesome. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Totally empowering people. If you heard something praising your podcast, so Mr. Mister, again, thank you so much for
Thank you, sir.
sharing your podcast to the world. We salute you for bringing your voices to the world. So can you please recommend a book that empowers you, a podcaster?
Empowers me as a podcaster. There are several books, but as a podcaster, they all sitting behind me. I think I
Even if
think
you, yes, go
yeah,
ahead.
I think I could think of a couple that it depends on what I'm talking about as a podcaster, but one book, and this is going to be a strange one, but it's going to be the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John Maxwell.
Yes.
That book right there, I've been a listener of Mr. Maxwell for a long time, but that book right there, I think what it's helping me do is get in touch with who I am as a person and as a leader. Because if you're a leader and nobody's following you, it's time for you to reevaluate your leadership. And that book helps you deal with who you are and who you need to be and your influence, that the influence that you have, and then recognize with the influence that you want to have in life. That book right there is outstanding. Excuse me. The other book is not a podcasting book at all, but it's Wild at Heart by John Eldridge. Now I always talk about it on our show because it we speak to a lot of men's issues and fatherhood and manhood things on some of our shows. And that book is probably the number one book, in my opinion, to help you recognize, why you're here, your purpose as a man, what you should be accomplishing, how you should handle the things that you deal with as a man that women can't understand because it's a male situation. And that book speaks to that and kind of encourages you to not cast aside who you are or allow yourself to be neutered by society, and you be the man you call to be, and be the outlaw and the cowboy and the king and all the things that you're supposed to be as a man, and tap into those things that are part of what it means to be a man. And it's not a bad thing. It's not taboo. It's not ugly. It's actually beautiful. So that book is a big part of that, and it helps me out to kind of understand how to talk to other men on our show and hear their hearts and be able to connect with them, because that's one thing that men have a problem doing a lot of the time, just connecting. or we don't want to connect sometimes. So that book helps me out with that, so I can connect with our audience. So those two books are the ones that come to mind right now that have been helping me out from a personal standpoint. And I think, I'm not sure, but I think it's helped me be a better podcaster.
Yes, indeed. Mr. Yu, again, thank you so much for sharing your voice to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your podcast itself, Mr. Yu?
I would have. First off, Daniel, thank you for having me on your show. This has been a lot of fun. Sorry for all my coughing and stuff, just under the weather a little bit, but this has been a fantastic opportunity. I would love for you guys to go to our website. Our YouTube site is youtube.com at they call me Mr. Yu, Mistayu. You can find all of our work, all of our resources, all of our content we've been putting out for the past 5 years. And I believe it's going to be encouraging to you. Any listening platform that you use for your audio podcast, you can find our show there as well. And of course, if you are interested in having a free consultation with me to talk about purpose in life and how to develop yourself as a leader, I have a link. It's also on another website, and you can find it there. It's also on the YouTube channel as well. And I'd be happy to chat with you guys and have a talk about your life and your purpose, and maybe perhaps we can help you out.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Yu because if you support him, more and more and more empowering episodes to come. So, Mr. Yu, thank you so much for
Thank
your
you, sir.
time.
Thank you. This was awesome.
Modicon people, see you soon.